Whether culture and science are inextricably linked is not the issue, but the deconstructing and analysing the intellectual abstract. Many of the cultural traditions have scientific underpinnings through my lens as an author, media arts specialist and cultural practitioner. The aforesaid ethos appears to be corroborating on the surface with the theory that science is part of culture, and how science is done largely depends on the culture in which it is practiced, a view espoused by Maurizio Laccanio. Further, when the same is contextualized in context, it is noted that science in popular culture is the treatment of scientific themes and issues in popular media such as cinema, music, television, and novels. In addition, science equals art, and they are the same thing. Both science and art are human attempts to understand and describe the world around us. The subjects and methods have different traditions, and the intended audiences are different. On the other hand, arts and humanities research in the 21st century will inform science as much as it charts its cultural impacts. It will also provoke new scientific inquiry as much as account for the historical, cultural, legal, and ethical context for the future development of many areas of science. The subjects and methods have different traditions, and the intended audiences are different. A great deal of creativity is required to make science breakthroughs, and art is just as often an expression of scientific knowledge. Consider the science behind mixing paint in the correct proportions, or creating perspective in a drawing, or even imagine the dance of a choir. There are two paramount differences between art and science. The first is that art is subjective, while science is objective. The second is that art expresses knowledge, most often in the form of subjective representation, while science is the system of acquiring knowledge. Artists and scientists both must be creative. They both must develop original ideas and push frontiers. Now that we have established context as it relates to whether culture and science are inextricably linked, it is critical that I also draw your attention through my lens as a media arts specialist to food science. Food science is the study of the physical, biological, and chemical makeup of food, the causes of food deterioration, and the concepts underlying food processing. Food preservation is an old practice that started in the prehistoric times. The initial forms were time-wasting and labor-intensive, but with time, there have been continuous improvements, and the current methods have become practical and convenient to use. We also learned that some old methods are still in use today, such as sun drying, chemical preservatives, and jam preservation. It is a matter of choosing what way is suitable for your purpose, depending on your needs, money, and other factors such as your body reactivity to them. Modern food science has introduced us to genetically modified beef and chicken, artificial sweeteners, and fat-free cooking oils, just to name a few. Although meaning has been attributed to flowers for thousands of years, and some form of florography has been practiced in traditional cultures throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa, yet in the scheme of things, science impacts growth and development of floral buds in culture, and the nutritional requirements are also not sufficiently well understood. There are different uses of flowers in different cultures, as country and culture has its own rules. In modern times, people have sought ways to cultivate, buy, rear, or otherwise be around flowers and blooming plants, partly because of their agreeable appearance and smell. Around the world, people use flowers to mark important events in their lives. The scientific definition of color is the quality of an object or substance with respect to light reflected by the object, usually determined visually by measurement of hue, saturation, and brightness of the reflected light. Color symbolism in art and anthropology refers to the use of color as a symbol in various cultures. There is great diversity in the use of colors, and there are associations between cultures and even within the same culture in different time periods. Richard Brochet reported that just over 50% of the world's population lives in the cities, and it's the most colorful event. However, that is a big factor in why so many countries hold giant colorful festivals. Virtually every corner of the world has a holiday or festival in which colored light or colors themselves are an essential part of the celebration. Technology's greatest impact is perhaps felt in new cameras that allow cinematographers to shoot in a higher definition, letting viewers take in more of the amazing work in set design. Technology also drives entire segments of film now, enabling movies that were not possible before. Plausibly, in this cinema is an innovative way of capturing, storing, and exploring both extreme-scale scientific data and experimental data. Another dimension in this sphere is music. B&B Music Lessons reported that music is both an art and a science, and music and science are closely related. Both use mathematical principles and logic, blended with creative thinking and inspiration, to arrive at conclusions that are both enlightening and inspirational. It could be said that science is the music of the intellect and music is the science of the heart. Dr. George Gerbner made the telling point that science is a way of thinking and communicating that can both liberate and dominate. It can confer power on those who use it and devastate those who cannot. Its images and symbols inspire feelings of confidence and apprehension, authority and resistance, control and being controlled. Television's contribution to popular conceptions of science and scientists blends with other social and cultural influences into a mainstream that tends to be more critical and negative than the views of the comparable groups that watch less television. K. Wiseman has asserted, at first, novels and science books might seem to have little in common. After all, novels are meant to entertain, while science books emphasize facts. However, there are a fair number of excellent science-themed novels that can provide a bridge between these two genres. Generally, even today, astronomical periods identified by Mesopotamian scientists are still widely used in Western calendars: the solar year, the lunar month, and the seventh-day week. Using these data, they develop arithmetical methods to compute the changing length of daylight in the course of the year and to predict the appearances and disappearances of the moon and planets and eclipses of the sun and moon. Science and culture combined recognizes that everyone has a right to freely participate in culture, to freely share in, participate, and to benefit from science and technology, and the protection of authorship. The right to science and culture are one of the economic, social, and cultural rights claimed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and related documents of international human rights law. Validates whether culture and science are inextricably linked. Was framed in ISBN 978-976-965 1203.